Tenants in Brighton have won a victory against possible displacement when the residents of Warren Hall got organized with help from the Mass Alliance of HUD Tenants. They eventually got help from local members of Congress and the state legislature. That means they'll keep getting rental subsidies for the time being. But more struggles lie ahead, and we'd like to welcome two members of the Warren Hall Tenants Association, the chair, Carson, and Dave Horan. Thank you both very much for being with us.
Mike Curran.
Oh, Mike. Oh, it's Mike Curran. Oh, I thought it was Dave Horan.
It was.
It was, okay. Oh, is that C-U-R-R-E-N?
A-N.
A-N, okay. 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 All right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, sure. We'd like to welcome two members of the Warren Hall Tenants Association, the chair, Carson, and Mike Curran. Thank you both very much for being with us. I'll start with Mike. Talk about getting the bad news about what you were afraid was going to happen here. How did that hit you?
Like a ton of bricks. I had just moved into I'd been at Warren Hall for about a year at the time when it first came out, and then we just heard through the Hannah Weinstein came over from Mass Alliance for HUD Tenants, and said, do you folks realize that as of December 1st, you're out of HUD control, out of HUD protection.
Which means you're losing your rental subsidies.
You lose your rental subsidies, and we don't know what else is going to happen. It just literally came out of the blue. I had no idea. Neither did any of the other tenants. And we have tenants ranging from a 95-year-old woman that's been in there for like 20 or 30 years, and to handicapped folks, and to the whole schmog. And mostly it's elderly.
Karen, how much of a rent increase were people facing?
It would be probably a tripling of the rents, tripling at least.
So you're the chair of the Tenants Association, so tell me what happened. What did tenants do once they got this news?
Well, when we heard about this news, we decided to organize as a tenants organization very quickly and formed the Warren Hall Tenants Association, and we began looking into things that could basically both create improvements in the building itself and preserve the subsidies.
Now, what about the owners' rights here? Because we've heard with many housing developments where there were subsidies that after a certain amount of time, the owners, these are private owners, they had the right to cash out and rent at the market rate. Well,
we did in fact try many times to contact the actual building owners who are in New York. They're based in New York. We did try to speak to them about what are your intentions. Do you intend to sell as condos? Do you intend to convert to market rent? We did actually write letters and try to find the actual owners, and as of yet we have not gotten any response.
Mike, what about what you did to get support for helping the tenants?
Well, the tenants got together, organized. We had the association, and we started dealing with the reality of what can we do as to either deal with December 1st or to put us in a position which we did not know we had options for. But there is in Massachusetts Chapter 40T, which is a support for people being displaced by HUD, other variations as far as the closing out of various contracts. So what we're looking at is 40T allows first of all, that the tenants are all notified 2 years in advance of the conclusion of the HUD program, which was not done. The owners never informed us of anything, and it was only through this. But the 40T, Kevin Honan was the author of.
And he's a state representative from your neighborhood.
He is, exactly, and he's the chairman for housing in the State House, in the House of Representatives. And this 40T program, as I said, mandates 24 months prior to the end of the HUD contract. They didn't do it. Now, what they also 40T allows for is if they don't tell you that the 24 months that you remain on the rent aspect that you have now is from 20 months by the time we get notified, which in this case was April of 2011. So that means that we now have the same rents that will go until August of 2013. So that right there was a breathing spell for us, because now at least December 1st, we don't have to worry about moving the trucks or whatever the case may be. So we now have the extension. There's also how Chapter 40T works, if everything goes according to plan, is as of the end in December 1st, you have 3 years in which the rents can only be raised by 3% plus inflation. So are the 3 years from the rents that you had when the program ended with HUD. So that, in a sense, gives us approximately 5 years to work out details. Now, there's a lot of different things going along with the next 3 years after the extension. So that being is that if they sell the building, and the big point for us is that the building could go into ABCDC, also right in community development, or some other nonprofit that could keep our apartments in affordable housing for as long as possible.
Karen, you've also been trying to get some people in Washington. Tell me about that.
Right. Dave Horan went to the National Alliance of HUD Tenant meetings in Washington and talked to officials from HUD. And we were given Section 8 vouchers for our building. The newly passed Merkley-Brown Amendment will allow for these individual Section 8 vouchers to be converted to project-based vouchers, which will allow for either the current owners or any nonprofit owner that would purchase the building. It would allow them to use that money to do repairs and renovations on the building, which the Warren Hall building is an old building which does need repairs. It dates back all the way to colonial times. It's actually a historic building in Brighton.
Now, project vouchers have the advantage over the regular vouchers in that you get to stay in the building.
Yes.
And what about this Brown in the amendment? Is this the senator from Massachusetts we're talking about here?
Yes, Senator Brown, yes.
So what was that like? I mean, people have been beating up on him a bit. Here he is, he's an ally of affordable housing.
Well, he actually, we actually went to the State House and we talked to both people on both sides of the aisle about, you know, what it is like to be here and to be needing affordable housing. And the Brown and Merkley Amendment, Senator Brown was from the Republican side, and Merkley is all, from the Democratic side. So this is actually a bipartisan effort to keep affordable housing.
By the way, the big picture is that not only your development, but there are so many places in Boston where this housing has disappeared. Even though sometimes people have gotten the voucher saying they could look for housing somewhere else, it seems that the supply is way down.
Yes, this is affecting the disability community because everybody, prior to this, a lot of the wheelchair accessible housing was in subsidized housing. The private market has not gone into as much wheelchair accessible unless it's been more recently built. So that has been a problem in terms of wheelchair accessibility. So it's really hard for somebody like me who has been using a wheelchair since I was 9 years old. That's been a problem. And, now there are more families that need subsidized housing, and people that, their mortgage melted down or whatever, they're looking for affordable housing now. So there's been a squeeze on the affordable housing.
All right, thank you both very much. Carson and Mike Curran from the Warren Hall Tenants Association.